You've seen the memes. It can seem like avocados are little green stones one moment and a sloppy mess the next. It can feel like getting the perfect ripe avocado is purely down to chance and luck, but it doesn't have to be that way. In this video, I'm going to be giving you some avocado ripening hacks so that you can quickly ripen an avocado and then keep it ripe for longer without it turning to mush. G'day avocado enthusiasts, and we know that there's nothing quite like a perfectly ripe avocado. They're soft, they're easily spreadable, they're a little bit sweet, they are just delicious. But we also know that if you don't get a ripe avocado, your experience of eating one can be very different. If you eat one too soon, it's hard, it's bland, it's not very appealing. But if you wait too long, it turns to mush and rots very easily. Before we talk about what you can do to ripen your avocados faster and prevent them from spoiling, let's first talk about what ripening is. When fruit ripens, it becomes softer, it becomes sweeter, and it sometimes changes colour. Why? Well, fruit is what a plant uses to grow seeds in, which is what a plant uses to pass on its genetic line so that it can grow more plants. And if the seeds are taken too early, well, they haven't developed well enough. And so plants have developed ripening as a way to communicate with animals that the fruit is ready for them to come and do their work. Most seeds are passed on by animals through their digestive tract. Communication is difficult for plants though, and so it makes its fruit less appealing when the seeds aren't ready. That's why unripe fruit is often hard, it's not very sweet, and it often has a bitter or acidic taste. Then once the seeds are mature enough, they're ready to go, the plant will ripen the fruit, changing its colour, making it softer, and making it sweeter, a much more pleasant taste. Then the animals will come, consume the fruit, and pass on the seeds to wherever they're going to be growing. You might have experienced this yourself if you've ever grown vegetables at home. A few years ago, we were growing tomatoes and strawberries, and we had a very plump rat living under our garage. And we didn't get to eat very many tomatoes or strawberries that year because as soon as they were ripe, the rat would steal them. It would wait until the perfect moment, until they were just ready to pick, to steal the fruit. It was rather frustrating. We know what ripening is, but when fruit ripens, what's actually going on inside? How does it soften? The softening of fruit when it ripens is caused by a breakdown of the cell walls of the fruit's cells. The cell walls are largely constructed of polysaccharides, which are a range of different sugary compounds which form bonds to bind the cell walls together. As the fruit ripens, enzymes in the fruit slowly dissolve the binds, causing the cells, and therefore the fruit, to soften. How does it become sweeter? Fruit contains starch. When the fruit ripens, the starch is broken down into simple sugars, which is what give it that sweet taste. When fruit ripens, it often changes colour. This is due to a breakdown of chlorophyll, the chemical that gives plants their green colour. And there is an increase in other compounds which gives fruits its reds or yellows or purple colours. So when an avocado ripens, the cell walls within the cells break down, causing it to soften. The starch also breaks down, causing a release of simple sugars which make it a little more sweet. And typically, avocados will change colour and become a darker, more purpley colour. That depends on the variety a little bit. But how can we become masters of ripening avocados? Well, by controlling the ethylene. Ethylene is a fruit's ripening hormone. It's the compound which triggers all of these ripening events. It triggers the cell walls to break down, causing it to soften. It triggers the starch to break down, causing it to become sweeter. It'll often emit a pleasant aroma, which ripe fruit gives you, and it'll change the colour of the fruit. Ethylene tells fruit to ripen. Fruit, ripen. Okay, ethylene. We can use this to our advantage. First, let's suppose you've bought some avocados and you want to save them for a while. You want to extend their shelf life before you even ripen them. Well, how can we do that? We can look to the transportation industry to see what they do. Unless you live in a place where your avocados are grown locally, they've travelled vast distances to get to where you are. Avocado growers, transporters, and sellers manage the ripening of the avocados, and often they don't want them to ripen until they get to the consumers, because otherwise there would be excess food waste. Avocado growers, transporters, and sellers will prevent avocados from ripening by turning down the heat. Fruit, avocados included, produce less ethylene in cooler temperatures. And so, keeping avocados in a cooler environment will prevent them from releasing that ethylene gas, which will prevent the fruit from ripening. Leaving an avocado in your fridge is a great way to extend its shelf life. In my experience, you can take an unripe avocado, put it in your fridge, and it will last for weeks without ripening. Oxygen is needed to produce ethylene. And so what many transporters and growers and retailers will do is that they can keep fruit in an atmosphere-controlled environment which reduces the oxygen so that fruit doesn't produce that ethylene. Now that's very difficult to do at home, but in my experience, just putting it in your fridge is a great way to extend the shelf life of your avocados. So my suggestion is to keep them in your fridge unless you want them to ripen. Okay, so keeping the avocados cool is going to prevent them from ripening. So how do we cause them to ripen, and can we make them ripen faster? Taking avocados out of the fridge and leaving them at room temperature will cause the ethylene in the avocados to release normally, causing it to ripen over a few days. But this can be enhanced. In the industry, ethylene gas is sometimes pumped into where fruit is being stored to encourage it to ripen. But that can be very expensive, and we don't want to be doing that ourselves. Unless we can. Other fruits produce ethylene, and some fruits are ethylene-producing powerhouses. Ripening bananas produce heaps of ethylene, and it doesn't just stay within the fruit. It's a gas, and it's released into the air around it. We can use this to our advantage. If you want to ripen avocados faster, in a day or less, put them in a basket with bananas. Or even better, in a paper bag with a banana. The paper bag is going to trap the ethylene gas inside it, and so it's a higher concentration, causing the avocado to ripen faster. Keeping avocados with other ripening fruit is a good way to increase the speed at which they germinate, which is exactly why avocado.org.au states that do not transport hard green avocados with ripening bananas, avocados, pawpaw tomatoes, custard apples, passion fruit, rock melons, honeydew melons, apples, pears, stone fruit, figs, or guavas. Also, check out the very strange avocado mascot they've got in the top corner of this document. And they say this because ripening fruit produces ethylene, and if you're transporting the avocados that you don't want to ripen with ripening fruit such as bananas, it's going to ripen too soon and spoil. What happens if you've ripened too many avocados? Do you need to eat them immediately so that they don't go to waste? Well, no. If you put your avocados back in the fridge, you can keep them for a good few days before you need to use them. So if you ripen your avocados, you've got too many of them, pop them back in your fridge and they will keep a bit longer. So, to slow down the ripening of an avocado, keep it in the fridge. If you want to speed it up, keep it with a banana. Good luck, and thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please let me know with that like button, and make sure you're subscribed to Scott Grows an Avocado Tree for more avocado growing and eating content. I hope you can come away from this video with some more knowledge to equip you to eat perfect avocados every time. If you'd like to follow my avocado growing journeys away from YouTube, you can find me on Instagram at Scott Grows an Avocado Tree. Thank you once again for watching, and I will see you next time.
Scott grows an avocado tree. Scott grows an avocado tree. Scott grows an avocado tree. Scott grows an avocado tree.